do here is go back.
Okay, so potentially I'm back. Now I've just done a quick little bit of research, and it seems that a lot of the errors that were in my event log were to do with OneDrive, Microsoft's synchronization tool. So if that is true, that kind of does make sense, because some of the files that OBS is using are actually copied from there, especially the...
Because you've hit your limit.
No, it's not. I've got loads on my limit. The logo that you can see at the bottom of the screen where it says live, that is actually from, well, copied and pasted in from OneDrive. It shouldn't make any difference, but anyway, regardless, I'm going to try and carry on. If it crashes again now, then we know it's not OneDrive, so do bear with. If it all goes wrong, I do apologise, and we'll try and redo this again properly at some other time. But it just seems weird. I've had this running pretty much all afternoon. I've had OBS running in the background, just like in a pre-stream mode, and it seems to have been fine. So I don't know what is going on. And now it appears that Chrome has crashed. It says, oh snap, something's gone wrong. And hopefully that is still working. I don't know what is going on. That says that it's going. It looks like it's going. There's something really, really weird going on with this computer. And like I said, as a prequel to this, just in case I don't get this build done, in case the computer craps out completely, which it may well do, I've replaced essentially everything you can see on this desk at the moment was actually in that PC behind me. So the only thing in the PC which is still from the previous setup is the Logitech webcam, which is on a USB extension, which potentially could be a problem. But I'm hoping it's going to be the OneDrive thing. But it's a really weird thing to do, because you can imagine that a lot of people use OneDrive and a lot of people use Windows for streaming. But anyway, we'll see what happens.
It's a bit blurry.
It's very, very... Is it looking blurry?
Mine, that one is. It's right on my phone.
I did up the gain a little bit on the stream quality.
Should I just leave it on there? Because it might...
If you click on the...
It might take bandwidth up for...
Oh yeah, sure, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, let's see what we can do and see if we can get some of this done at least. Worst case scenario, I'll get another PC built, which I can then revert back to. But yeah, it's a very odd thing. I don't know what is causing that. Quieter than usual, Glenn is saying. Now that is probably because OBS might be a little bit low, so let's boost that up a little bit. How's that? Is that any better? Let us know, Glenn.
So you're back to readjusting everything.
Yeah, Craig says the volume is a little bit low. I've actually got a microphone here, haven't I? Yeah, I have.
Is it on?
Is that better, guys? Girls? Yep, switched on.
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah, that's better. Does it still need to come up a little bit, or is it okay? Is it at the usual level? That's the trouble with streaming. You can't always tell what is coming through. So that's why I've got all of you lot out there as my beta testers to see how it's going. Glenn says it's fine. Okay, happy days. So currently I've turned off all power saving features of Windows. Yeah, everything is on full blast. I've disabled any sleep modes. The processor is at full tilt, so we'll see what happens. Right, so let's introduce this build at long last. Oh my god, what a day. I hate computers. I really do hate computers at times. So, the star of the show is this. This is the Sahara Seagod H600. And as you can see, there's a ton of fans. So we've got, which ones are these up here? These are the duo rings. These are 120mm. We've also got the Typhoons, the 14cm or 140mm. And all of this is going to be working in conjunction with the Iced Rainbow. That was yesterday's stream. So we're going to use, this is the cooler we're going to be using. To be honest with you, the cooler is probably a little bit underpowered for what it is. It's got a TDP of 95 watts, the CPU's 65 I believe, if memory serves. I'm not... Are we back? We crashed momentarily again. And we're back. Talk about losing viewers. This is not great. So now I've disconnected the USB cable which connects up the Logitech camera, because that is the only other thing I can think of potentially which is connected which might be giving it a problem. I can't imagine a keyboard or mouse causing all these kinds of problems. We'll see how long it lasts this time. If it does try and spare that USB cable, I'm going to be pissed. I don't think I can get the stream going again, can I?
Can you not?
Don't know.
I think mine's still connected.
Yeah, I think it might go. Oh dear.
Yeah, now I've raised the screen, please. Might kill all the bugs.
Yeah, it needs something. This PC needs setting fire to. I might actually set fire to it live on camera. Okay, so I've just swapped out the RAM. You never know. It's a last ditch attempt. I've tried everything else. What an absolute nightmare.
You've changed that already, haven't you?
I kind of have changed it, but I've not changed it as well. So we'll see what happens. If OBS crashes again, that'll be it, and I'm just going to give up, and I'm going to go and buy a Mac tomorrow. And then, yeah, stream randomly comes back as Mike smashing the PC against the wall. Okay, this is actually horrendous, genuinely horrendous. I cannot figure out for the life of me what is causing this to go wrong. So what did I last do? I changed the RAM, unplugged the USB. The only other thing is if my my HD60, my capture card is the Swanee. That could do it, I suppose.
But it was crashing without
It does. It is.
yesterday.
It is. Yeah, that's true. It was crashing when it wasn't streaming yesterday as well. I wonder if it is the power.
Aletta recommends digging out in the garden and shooting.
I think I am going to shoot the PC. So if this carries on, I'm going to have to start streaming from my other PC over there, which is a bit of a nose, but it's doable. Actually, why don't I do it from that one anyway?
Can you do that now?
I'll probably... Oh no, it'd take ages to set up, but that's what I might do. It's cursed, I tells ya, says Craig. I think you're right. So far, what have we changed? We've changed the RAM. We've changed the motherboard. We've changed the processor. We haven't changed the cooler. Still got the same cooler, but the cooler wouldn't make a difference. The only other thing is maybe the fans are drawing too much off the header. I think that's unlikely. Power supply seems to be doing a pretty decent job. It's a slightly overwatted one, but I don't know. Very, very odd. So yeah, in there is a new drive, new power supply. Yeah, it's all new apart from the case. The graphics card is kind of reused, but I've tried two graphics cards. This one that was in there and the Sapphire. Why take chances? Shoot both. That's not a bad idea.
I put the other one unlisted because it's a bit.
Yeah, okay. I don't get it. I really don't understand it. It is very, very confusing. Although it seems to have settled down now. Famous last words. Anyway, so let's get back to this case. So this is the case. Motherboard is the X370 Pro Prime from ASUS. Well, you can see the rest of the bits, and it's probably best if I introduce them as I'm building them, because otherwise we're going to be here all freaking night. So let's get the things out of the way we don't need. So let's start with the motherboard.
Time between crashes.
Yeah, introduce them between crashes. Whoever said that is a good idea. Was that you?
Me.
Right, well done, Kath. So let's get these things out of the way.
Oh, you never liked me when I said before.
That was good. That was good. Okay, so let's start with the motherboard. Now, unfortunately, I can't give you the alternate angle for the camera, so well, it is what it is. If this stays stable without the camera being connected, but I think I've had so many crashes now, I can't tell what has caused a crash and what hasn't. That is how bad today has been. It has been absolutely horrendous. Right, so I suppose I should use the motherboard box as an anti-static. Now the only thing which is current actually, or continual in this particular setup, is the graphics card is AMD. My other PC, which is completely rock solid, Ryzen 5 3600, has got an NVIDIA graphics card.
How about mine?
Yours is ATI as well, but maybe yours is the older drivers. I don't want to believe that it's something to do with the drivers, but I guess it must be. But I can't figure out. I tried using it without drivers and I tried using it with drivers, and it crashes both ways. So it's not good, is it? It really isn't. So anyway, let's get this CPU installed. If it's in here somewhere. Oh, no, that's a box. Don't want that. So there we go. We've got the Ryzen 5 2600. So for this one, all we need to do is to line up the write-in with the write-in on the socket. So the write-in is that way round and the write-in is there. There is actually a little brass triangle which we discussed in last night's stream actually, so you can line it up that way. But if you just line up the write-in, then you're pretty much good to go. So next thing to do is apply a little bit of thermal paste, which is hiding behind here somewhere. And this is our thermal paste. Let's get rid of some of this RAM. It's ridiculous actually. When you've got one PC, it's actually quite easy to maintain it. But when you've got loads of PCs, it's actually really hard work. Anyway, so we're using the HY710 again, and we'll splurt some out on there.
Kev says where you got it plugged in. I don't know what that means though.
The PC's plugged into a extension lead, which could be the problem. It could be dirty power. I wouldn't rule it out. It is possible. And we put a load of dots on there, so that should be enough.
Bloody hell.
What?
It looks a lot.
It looks a lot. Let's put some more on then. This stuff is
Watching it on a tiny little
this stuff is thermally conductive and also electrically conductive. So probably the best thing to do is put an absolute ton of it on there, and hopefully it'll blow this bloody thing up.
But it's not that bloody thing. It's the one behind you.
Oh yeah. Well, this was the one that was doing it earlier. Actually, probably a good idea to stick the RAM on next. So RAM is here. So the RAM we're using is the V color. This is the, I'm trying to think what they call this. What was this called? Oh, Prism RGB, that was it. There's a definite theme with this build. There's a lot of RGB. Probably too much, to be fair.
Looks like a birthday cake with candles.
Yeah. And talking of celebratory, tomorrow is mine and Kath's wedding anniversary, and we'll have been married for how long, Kath? Because I don't bloody know.
Let's see what you know.
Let me see. I was 21. I'm 45, so 24 years. 24 years of marriage. Way. That's terrifying, isn't it? 24 years. Most of the viewers of this channel are probably less than 24 years old. So I was married before you were even born. That's pretty scary.
Adam's in.
Who? Adam. Good evening, Adam. How are you doing? Hopefully you're not having to take a canoe to work. It's rather wet over there in Welsh Wells. Right, so we've got our RAM installed, we've got our CPU installed, so let's go ahead now with the cooler.
Major General's in. He bought V-Color because of your review.
Ah, Major General bought some V-Color RAM because of my review. It's actually decent RAM, I really like the look of it.
Prism RGB 3000.
Okay, so this is the cooler. So this is the Iced Rainbow from Sahara. Now this is the revised version. Now the previous version they had just plugged into the controller on the motherboard. On the back of the case, and the RPMs control of it was pretty awful. So this new improved version now has the 6-pin header for the RGB, digital RGB, and also has a 4-pin header for your PWM connection. So that's a fantastic upgrade to what was a pretty awful cooler to start with. So with this one, this is actually going to be tricky because I'm not going to know if the lighting is going to be the right way round, depending on which way round it is. And it's got these retention clips which are a little bit on on a difficult side to do, so I think probably what we'll do is do this side first. Get that kind of lined up.
Says he's going to gripe at you again this evening. Looks like you have an ARC drive. 120 and 240 are okay, but the 480 and over suffer from controller chip overheating.
Oh, okay. The yeah, the OCZ drive didn't seem to be too bad, to be honest with you, but potentially it could still be an issue. Come on, get on there. And that's the cooler on there, nice and firmly. Now I had to put the RAM in first of all, because as you can see, the tolerance there is very, very close, and literally there is kind of like a, I don't know if you can see it, there is a very, very tiny fraction of a gap. You can still wiggle the RAM against the cooler, so it's not entirely encased in it. Actually, that's seated on really well, and you can see the thermal paste is just spread out around the side, so it's pretty decent. It's quite a beefy cooler as well. So we've got our wires now, so RGB and the PWM, so we can connect those up later. So I think that is pretty much everything that we can do on the motherboard, so let's get the case ready. IO shield. We've definitely got an IO shield this time, and I'm actually sort of contemplating what fans to actually put inside this case. So for those of you who haven't seen it, this is the Sahara, the Sea God, the H600, and it's got this massive mesh on the front, surrounded by another mesh, and it appears that OBS hasn't crashed again.
Don't say that word.
Shouldn't say it. So removal mesh, we're going to get rid of the mesh.
Glenn says he uses the other two memory channels on his prime board.
That's what I've used on that one. I've used both actually, I think. I tried 2 and 4 and I've tried 1 and 3. And I have tried it fully populated as well, which didn't seem to make a great deal of difference for my crashing. Which is weird because it was super stable when I was using it as a video editing PC not that long ago. Anyway, nice thick panel. That sounded very Bristolian, didn't it? Panel.
Ghost Adder's got the last part for their PC build today.
Ghost Adder's got the last part of their PC build equipment today, so that's pretty sweet. That's going to be with the GameMax White Diamond, I think. Remember rightly?
Adam says it still doesn't look like that shallow form factor.
The shallow form factor. Oh, what, the sort of truncated area here, rather than it being longer. I quite like the shorter form factors without the CD drives. They're getting a little bit smaller. So this is where I have to decide what I'm going to do with the fans. So I was thinking initially 2 140s at the front, 2 120s at the top, and 1 120 at the back. But then I also thought maybe 3 120s on the front, 2 140s on the back, and another 140 on the back. Because I've got 3 140s and I've got 4 120s. First world problems, eh? I don't know. Let me know. Let us know in the comments, what do you think? Where should we go with it? If it's still running. Does seem okay. I'm going to grab my cup of tea in a minute so I don't start coughing and spluttering. But have a word. Let us know what you think. What do you think the fan layout should be?
Part of me envies a case without much space to work in. I have the crown the FTZ01.
Yeah, this is a nice case to work in actually. You've got quite a bit of room. And actually probably too many options. You can actually put 200mm fans in here as well. Apparently. I've not tried it. I would quite like 3 140s in the front, but I don't think that's going to go because that adds up. 3 140s would add up to, what's 140? That's 420, isn't it? So that's not going to happen. 420 blazing. 420. No, we've got 400 maximum. Although saying that, I know because the holes, the bottom and top, 420. No, I don't think it's going to do it. don't think it's going to do it. It would be really good if it would. Let's have a quick look, see what it looks like. What am I doing with the PC after it's built? I'll be doing some serious testing of it to make sure that it's stable and see what parts are good and we'll see which parts are less good. After that, it's got to go. It'll probably end up on the on our Facebook page or something like that, and somebody can give it a good home. Or again, yeah, on the Discord as well.
Full Metal T-shirt asks, are you in a utility closet?
Am I in a utility closet? No. This is England. We have small houses. Well, those of us that aren't on mega money. Okay, so.
Craig Pello has 2 SSD drives that don't work. Have you ever done that power cycle thing on them to get them working again?
No, I haven't actually. Wonder if that would fit. Are these the 140s? They are. I think they would fit, you know. That might actually go. I don't think it's officially supported, but it might just work. Like NVIDIA, just works.
Where's your metal tray?
Where is my metal tray? It's just there. What, my parts tray?
Maybe you should use it.
Why?
Because you're dropping everything.
That's all part of the fun. Right, let's see if these will actually fit where we want them to. I don't think they're going to, personally. So let's have the Sahara Gaming logo upside down. Actually, I'm not going to be able to get to those on the bottom, am I?
Meg Glenn says it's good for 3 120s in and 2 140s out then. Because you said it wouldn't fit.
Yeah, I think it might go. So which way round is that meant to be? That's meant to be that way round. So I'm going to put it that way round, so yeah, upside down. Let's see if it physically will fit. Because you know someone's bound to ask the question at a later date about the video, about the when I did the unboxing. Someone's bound to say, oh, can you possibly squeeze 3 140s in the front? And at least if I try it, I'll know what the answer is. And I will feel that I've done my duty. Rather than just going, well, try it for yourself, see what happens. If it works out, let me know.
Adam's toy mobile mesh panel for the front of his Fantex P400. The airflows would look awful.
P400 Fantex is a great case. I am a big fan. Big fan. Which way did I do that? Upside down, so that's got to be upside down as well.
3 140s in and 3 120s out would be ideal if they fit.
It would. That is what I'm thinking. That would be the perfect solution. And I think it might actually work. Again, I'm sure on the website, maybe someone can actually open up a tab in Chrome. I'm not going to dare do it in case the thing crashes again. But someone open up the tab and see what it says on the site. I don't think it says that it supports 3 140s.
Sahara
Yeah.
or Amazon.
Sahara is probably the best one to go for. I'm almost 100% confident that they don't support it, or they don't officially say it supports it. Or maybe it does. Maybe I just ignored that fact completely. So it's tight, but it does work. It does fit. So 3 140s in the front is a thing.
You search that, you're the only one that comes up.
Yeah, I did that earlier. Yeah, 3 140s on the front. That is some serious airflow. What other cases are there out there at the moment which support 3 140s in the front of their case? Is there one? I can't think of one.
Have they even got a website?
Yes, saharagaming.tw. all I can say is wow. That is some serious cooling firepower. So that's 420 mils worth of cooling on the intake. If we have a 360 on the exhaust, that gives us a little bit of positive pressure to keep the dust bunnies out. Incredible. And in fact, actually, you could put another 3 140s in there to balance it out. So another 2 140s in the top, a 140 on the back, to have it balanced pressure-wise, which again would be... It does say, does it?
That's what Glenn says.
Oh, right. Okay. So there we go. That is the 3 fans. I personally would have preferred for them to be on the front, I think. Closer to the mesh to let the light come out. So I think that's going to be a little bit muted. But having said that, at least with this now, I can stick the filter on the front to stop the extra fine particles. But again, it does kind of limit your your light. And actually the filter isn't quite big enough. They've cut the filter too short. It needs to be another inch long. Why would they do that? Hey-ho. So yeah, they would work on the front. I wonder actually if they put any longer things in there.
Adam's like a letter 3x360 mil radiators and 10 fans. What on earth are you running?
Why am I putting more screws in? I'm only going to take them out later. Right, so we'll ditch that because, well, just because. And we can stick this back on now because that is done. Tell you what, if I put it on the right way, that would make life much easier. Actually, no, that was right.
Mesh and buy a cheap data pack or cheap Chinese equivalent.
So, there we go. 3 140s in the front. How insane is that? It should be nice and easy to cable manage actually as well, because it all just comes out the back and we can stick it into the control box wherever we're going to put it. So now we've got to put in another 3 of the Pirate Duo rings even. Actually, this might actually end up replacing the in-wing behind me. If this becomes more stable, I might ditch that in-wing case behind me. Look, move into the 2000s, or the 2020s rather, with a new case.
They're saying you're very quiet.
I'm very quiet, am I? Okay, so I daren't go into OBS in case it, oh yeah. There we go, how's that? Is that better? That should be louder.
Louder but crashier.
Right, so now I've got to make sure I put the fans in around the same way. Which is not going to be particularly easy, is it? So that way round. So 120 up there, and 120 there. Actually, what is the layout going to be? Let's have one of those in there. I've got to stand up for this because, well, why sit down? So today I was actually looking on Amazon to see what to replace my my equipment with, and what are your thoughts? What should be the next purchase here at Mike's Unboxing? I'm thinking NVIDIA graphics card is probably a wise decision, what with all the streaming and stuff. But I was saying that this seems to be.
No, stop.
Oh, they said it's stable. Do you want to make it to your anniversary? I'm not tempting fate. It's all going to be fine. Everything's fine. Right, let's move that back a little bit. So at the moment in these PCs, the streaming PC and this kind of spare PC, I suppose you could call it, or test bed PC, both of them are running RX 580s, which are getting a little bit long on the tooth now. And actually, I don't want to say that I'm kind of following what everyone else is saying, but I do find instability in the system. And my point of reference for that is the fact that that system over there has got an NVIDIA card in, and it's rock solid, and it's essentially the same setup. So there is possibly something in it where people say that the NVIDIA systems are more stable. And I've got to be honest with you, I'm actually even considering going AMD, Intel, which I didn't think I'd ever say. Yeah.
Doge says the new Threadripper with 64 cores on 128 threads.
Sounds good to me.
ClickTech says get a Stream Deck.
Get a Stream Deck, okay.
And Aletta says get a Threadripper 3990X.
All of those are valid suggestions. I will take them on board. Some of them are less valid than others.
Some don't fit in your wallet.
Some of them require me to hemorrhage cash. No, I'm not sure. It's still running. But that's a weird thing. Last night we did the stream, and we were streaming for about an hour and a half before it decided to crash. I'm wondering if it is that USB, the USB extension.
Nothing wrong with hardware being nominated as long as you haven't dropped or fried it. And the drives
A good point.
are trash.
And actually, would anybody like to see what it looks like when a NVMe drive basically cooks itself and desolders a RAM chip? Would you like to see that in a close-up? Because what's that? I've got my ring. My standard goal has been achieved. I've not been stood up, I've been sat down. Well done, Apple Watch.
LNP says, I think YouTube is messing with their live streaming thing. All the streams I watch are blocky, but video playback is fine.
All right, that's interesting. Thank you for that. A little bit of information there about the streams. The only thing I can really recommend about streams is from Ghostbusters, and that is basically don't cross them. Apparently that is a thing.
Did you ever do that in the game? Ghostbusters game was cool.
Kath liked that. I don't know if anyone else actually liked it, but Kath enjoyed it, and that's all that matters. There's the IO shield we've actually got in, and that's it, yeah. So this is my D1 Extreme, and I think the Extreme stands for extremely shit. Excuse my French. So,
George from Argentina is in the house, and it's his first time live in this channel.
George from Argentina, thank you for joining us live for the channel. So this is what has happened. So I thought the drive, the actual RAM looked slightly raised. So I started to peel back the sticker, and there we go. Can you see that on the stream? Wiggle your mouse, Kath, I can't see what's going on.
Oh, sorry.
So hopefully you can see that. So the RAM chip there is basically stuck to the sticker. Now the sticker itself isn't particularly sticky, so obviously it must have been lifted a little bit anyway to come off like that. So yeah, that's not good. Did everyone get a look at that in the chat? I'll see if I can give you a bit of a closer. Let's have an F in the chat for the Dravo.
What does an F mean?
Like fail, dead, rip. You get the idea. So it's yeah, it's stuck on there. So the RAM chip has come off completely, which if it was down to like physical or user error where I'd like been quite heavy-handed with it, I'd be like, well, okay, fair enough, it is a RAM chip. But RAM chips shouldn't come off that easily, and I was actually very, very delicate with it. And some of you probably remember it in the background in the streaming PC. It always had that green flashing light on it, and it started flashing all the time, regardless of like data being put through. And then when it finally stopped booting, the light just didn't come on, which is what I thought, oh, yeah, that's definitely not good. If the light on the NVMe drive doesn't come on, that's definitely a bad sign. I'm lucky actually, well I say I'm lucky, you never know, I'm lucky that it didn't actually take out any other components with it when it short-circuited. I guess that's only using probably 3 volts, so it's not too bad, but anyway. So that's going back to Amazon. In fairness to Amazon, they've been very good. I bought it in August last year, and I just went onto their live chat, because obviously most things with Amazon you can't return after 30 days unless you contact their support. So I contacted their support, explained the problem, and they said they didn't have any stock at the moment, so they can't replace it. Would I accept a full refund? I was like, hell yeah. So I've got a full refund, so I'll be looking out for a new drive at some point.
Ghost Adder asks, is it a well-known
It is, well, I wouldn't say it's a well-known brand. It's not, it's by no means a popular brand. But I have seen other people review them, and it's kind of like most of these Chinese and Japanese brands where they kind of flood the market a little bit on Amazon for a while, and then they kind of disappear. Some of the other ones like that, excuse me, the TC Sunbow, they're a very similar kind of brand where they use a different OEM, stick a label on it, and that is pretty much how it runs. So we got our cabling in, we got our 6 fans.
Aletta said she'd use a little bit of super glue to fix that, or maybe some duct tape.
Duct tape. I was considering. We had a discussion on the Discord earlier. We were discussing. My mate Vince could do it. Not my mate, but Kev's mate. I had to think then. My brain is completely fried. Yeah.
George is like
good old Vince.
So like watching his bits of videos.
So yeah, I was very much considering putting some fresh flux on there and putting it in the oven, because essentially it's just basically what's happened to all the graphics cards used to happen, and some of those HP G series laptops, which were really prone for it. They had the I think it's the 8800 graphics card in them, and the H600s, and yeah, they used to get really hot and basically desolder themselves, which is essentially what that has done. But oddly, I did notice in the usage, because I do often monitor my temperatures using Hardware Monitor, which, to be fair, isn't always the best, but it did seem to show that the temperatures were actually under control and not running away crazily. So it was showing that it was around about the ambient temperature of the case, which was around about 35-40 degrees, which I would presume to be normal. It didn't actually show any signs of overheating, which is again slightly unusual.
David Thompson asks, is there a noticeable difference between SSD and NVMe in performance?
In benchmarks, definitely. In boot times, potentially. Sorry, this is a question that's just been asked in the chat about boot times. Well, actually, the difference between SSDs and NVMe's. Yes, in benchmarks, 100%, you'll definitely notice the difference. In boot times, again, you may well see a difference. But I would say in general use and for gaming purposes, it's virtually undetectable. If you've got an option for a kind of double the size SSD for the same price as half the size NVMe, I'd probably go with an SSD just to give you that much more storage capacity. But again, personal preference on these things, as it always is. Do whatever suits. Right, so we've got one more fan and we've got our controller to go in. So next of all, we'll do the power supply. Now this power supply is what I thought originally was part of the problem. In Hardware Monitor, I was monitoring the temperatures, the voltage on this power supply. Yeah, I might need it again in a minute. And this was dropping underneath 11.9 volts, which isn't always good, and there was a little bit of bouncing going on. But the power supply itself seems okay. This is a Cooler Master G750M. Not a brilliant power supply by any means, but certainly more than capable of running that system. But I was thinking that was the problem. But then I've replaced the power supply with my Rio Toro, which is showing actually a higher voltage, more stable voltage, but still the problems occur. Like in War of the Worlds, still they come. So yeah, who knows? Right, Kath, on that box I gave you, I need a SATA connector, please, for the modular power supply. This is a test now to see if Kath can remember what a SATA connector looks like. And I get my parts. See, I have actually got a magnetic parts tray. I just refuse to use it most of the time because it's full of other stuff.
There isn't one.
SATA connector?
They're all the same.
That's all right, I'll do any of them.
A little one?
Doesn't matter, sorry, yeah, a little
They're
one.
all the same, aren't they?
So there we go, there's our SATA connector. So we're going to need that for our OCZ drive. Stream's still running. Jinxed it. If it's that USB cable, I am going to be really cross. That is not good. So let's get our power supply installed. just 4 screws on there. These are the coarse screws as per usual. Nothing particularly outrageous here. And actually this case, it's quite nice to work with. There's quite a lot of room around the outside edge of the power supply on both sides.
And you've still got 10 fingers.
And I still have all my fingers and no bleeding, which is good.
Yet.
Yeah, wait for it. Although tomorrow is going to be another one of those days where everything's probably going to go wrong, because tomorrow I'm going to be setting up some Xiaomi Dafang cameras at a friend's house. I've got 3 cameras to set up, so yeah, that should be fun. They were a little bit fussy to set up towards the end of their kind of lifespan, when officially they're not supposed to be allowed in the UK. They're designed for mainland China only, which was part of the problem actually. But anyway, we will see. So we've got our 24-pin, our 4-pin or 4+4 pin connector to go at the top there. So that's going to fit in there nicely. We only need 1 GPU power connector because we've only got a modest graphics card in there. So we'll tuck those away. And if you remember rightly from the review when I unboxed this, there's pretty much a ton of room inside this thing for stuffing cables in, which a lot of you are big fans of. And actually I'm quite a big fan of that as well. No point having life made more difficult. I was just thinking actually the hard drive caddies, there isn't a caddy, is there? That's for 3.5-inch drives only. So we're going to have to stick a drive in there like we did last night. So we'll stick that just in there. Might as well do that while we're here and drop everything. There we go, metal parts tray, that's what it's there for. So let's get our drive. OCZ drive, normal 2.5-inch drive, so we'll just stick that in there. And line up the screws. Now this is using the what I refer to as floppy drive screws, which is probably showing my age a little bit there. But basically that means it's the finer threaded drive screws. And have we got 4 of them in here? Yes we have. Happy days. So I'll get those put in there. And hopefully it's stream's still working, Kath?
Yeah.
Nice little case this actually. Well, I say little, it's quite big. I'm really looking forward to having it lit up with all those fans in there. It's going to look like a something like a Christmas tree. And although Christmas is over, didn't stop us wanting to revisit it. I miss Christmas already, do you? I miss the anticipation of Christmas.
What, the day off?
Yeah, the day off.
One day off.
Now, schoolboy error, when you're doing this, make sure you don't put the drive in upside down, because the connector's at the wrong side. Now, actually, in this particular instance, it doesn't make a great deal of difference because you can plug it in either way. It would have been neater if they were going down the bottom. So, I'm going to unscrew those and put them back in the right way round. You don't have to, you could just put the plugs in at the top, but just extra cabling to have to mess around with. And
R120 to 240 are okay. It's the 480 that the trouble, if it's 480 gig. But don't rely on it.
no, it's not 480. This is the 240. This is the one that had the slightly better firmware and controller on it. Although saying that, I did notice when I had the OCZ software installed, it did show that the drive health was beginning to suffer. So with SSDs, there used to be a method, well there still is, people don't tend to do it so much now, but you could actually over provision the drive. So basically you could have a space set aside for kind of wear and tear on the drive. So you could take a 5, 10, 20 gigabytes off the size of the drive and use over provisioning and use that as kind of like a buffer area, almost like a swap file area, which would then make the rest of the drive last a little bit longer. At least that's the theory. Whether or not it actually works, I don't know. Okay, so there's our drive, and just double check which way the connections go in. so I'll only forget by the time it actually comes around to connecting it all up. So in this case you can put 3 hard disk drives in the bottom, 3.5-inch drives. Put 2 120mm here, two 2.5-inch drives there, and there's actually space on the front of the chassis as well where you can put another 2 in if you wanted to. You've got these nice cutouts, so you can put your cable in through nicely. So if you've got some really nice fancy drives, you want to show the logos off on the inside, then you can do that. Also as well, if you've got drives which are in use a lot and they're generating a bit of heat, being in the airflow path of those front fans will keep the controllers and what have you a little bit cooler. Although there is some kind of theory that RAM chips actually work better when they're actually at a higher temperature, whereas the controllers don't work so good at higher temperatures. So it's kind of like swings and roundabouts. Do you want your controller to be under less stress, or do you want your RAM chips to perform faster? It's all in milliseconds anyway, so it doesn't make a great deal of difference, but I suppose the options are there. So yeah, that still connects up there nicely. And there's actually quite a lot of room in the back of this case for cable management, so I'll stuff that cable back in there. We will need another connector off this SATA, or I may run another SATA connector over, actually, saying that, because we've got the controller as well. So if I take an extension off of there, which way round is that? That way round. So plug that in there, and then we've got another SATA there, which we can run over to our controller. Let's have a little bit more length on that. It's not going to give us quite the amount of length I need, I think. So yeah, that should take us over to here, so we can have our drive controller. Oh, sorry, our LED controller. Words is hard tonight. Let's get a load of length on there, just in case. I can always hide the bit of cabling that I don't use. So anyway, that's that bit done. So let's go ahead and put the motherboard in, I think. Yeah. So if I remember rightly, yeah, we're going to have to put some more screws in the back plate of the board. So go to our accessories box. This is a ATX style board, or sized board rather. So we're going to need some extra good strong teeth. Slightly yellow, but good strong teeth. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I was thinking about that, but I don't want to introduce the 2 terabyte drive. I'm not entirely sure of its stability. So whilst we're testing, and we don't actually need it at the moment, I'm not going to put it in quite yet. I may well put it in later. I did plan on putting it in now, but I did think about it after I'd done the thumbnail, and I thought to myself, do I want to do that now? Is that a good idea to introduce another potential failure point? So that might be happening a little bit later. Now, as I said before, where you've got these screws out in your hand, it's always a really good idea to try the thread on the screws to make sure that you've got the right type of thread, because they are a pain to get out. So this looks to be the finer thread. So that's a coarse thread, so let's try that in there. That shouldn't go in at all. No, it doesn't. So this is going to be mounting the motherboard with the finer screw. So we're going to need 9 of those. If anybody wants to count for me, I've had such a day, I don't really feel like counting, to be honest with you. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, something went right today. So we've got all our cables in the right places, so just going to put the motherboard in now. Again, I can't really show you this particularly well because of the camera angle, so I'm going to lean this down and get the board in. And actually, for once, I've actually put the I/O shield in, which is quite unusual, because people do get quite triggered about I/O shields.
Matthew says he hopes you thoroughly watched the Verge's PC building guide. He doesn't want you messing up and all that.
Yeah, the Verge guide I did watch, and I enjoyed it tremendously. But probably for the wrong reasons.
APRAM says, you speak wisdom, every unnecessary point of failure in a working machine is potentially bad idea.
Yeah, very much so. Any potential failure point is a bad thing. If you're building it for yourself, it's not too bad. But if potentially at some point you're going to give this PC to a friend, loved one, relative, whatever it may be, Discord member, etc., then it's always beneficial to make sure, double check, triple check, quadruple check, and make sure that everything works, just so that you don't get any kind of egg on the face at a later date, which is never a good look.
Can we try it?
No, we can't try it. And this is Cadbury's cream egg. So 9 screws to go into this part.
Got any tweezers left?
I have got some tweezers left. Who asked that? That's got to be Noob.
No, Ghost Adder.
Ghost Adder.
Did you get any tweezers for the build?
Yeah, we've got some tweezers.
Angry Pooch says, is it just him or is there an echo?
There might be an echo actually. Have I muted that? Oh no, I have muted that. It should be okay. Actually, saying that, desktop audio is gone, so let's ditch that. Is that better? Is the echo gone? It could just be my voice, because at the moment I've still got a bit of this cold lying around, so it could be that.
You only leave excessive points of failure when building a rig for a pointy-haired boss.
A pointy-haired boss.
You've just done that as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I have actually, yeah.
You say hi to Martin Brooks.
Hello to Martin Brooks. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully you're having a much better Tuesday than I'm currently having. It is Tuesday, isn't it? Is it Tuesday today?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just checking. So we've got a little bit of ketchup and mustard going on this power supply, which isn't the end of the world. We can live with it. It's not a problem. Ketchup and mustard is not a potential failure point, so we can live with that. So let's pull through some of these cables. And we're good to go. So just routing through the PWM XS, which there is an absolute ton of, and also the RGB. So that's all ready to go. And while we're actually in this top port of the board, we can run through our 4-pin and 4-pin PSU connector. Oh, PSU, you know what I mean. Oh dear, it has been one of those days. I should... Go on.
Building PC on a relatively calm stream, you're living the life. It's a good Tuesday.
It is a good Tuesday.
And the letter says
A letter says the blue there.
the Verge build was genius. Great PR for them. 50 years from now, people will still be talking about it.
It was actually. They say that in business or in anything like that, there's no such thing as bad publicity, which for the poor guy who did the build, or for the, I don't know, the whole team really, it's a kind of a joint area where everybody that was part of that is really to blame, because there was a lot of potential things that could have been sorted prior to that being aired or edited or whatever. So I don't think the guy who actually was the host can have too much grief, because there should have been someone there turning around and saying, look, you're being a fool, stop. But having worked in the TV industry, I know what it's like, where people kind of get a little bit caught up in it and they don't want to say anything to anyone because they don't want to upset anyone, they don't want to lose a job because freelance world and all that kind of stuff. So I can kind of get why no one did actually say anything, but just because nobody did say anything doesn't mean that they shouldn't have or should have, you know what I mean? Somebody should have stood up and said, look, this is wrong, very wrong. Right, let's get some of these RGB cables out of the way. And we can start thinking about our front panel connectors. I'll also do that while we're in this neck of the woods. So what have we got here? We have got a USB connector. So let's do one of those first of all. So USB connectors on this board are down in this section here, which is a bit of a pain because our cutout is here and here. So we want to use that one. Luckily, again, as it was with that build we did yesterday, the actual cutouts, there's quite a nice space between the actual board and the where the cutout is, so it's actually nice and easy to get to. I remember some cases, like the Cooler Master ones, you used to have to take the power supply back out to put your cables through. It's an absolute nightmare.
Matthew Day says, is that the RGB CPU cooler as well?
It is, yes, RGB CPU cooler. So the whole system is designed to kind of coordinate with each other, which is pretty sweet. So the RGB is going to flow from basically one controller, which is on the top of here, and that's going to control the CPU fan, all these fans, everything's all going to work together, or at least that is the theory. We were discussing on the Discord last night actually about the various forms of RGB and RGB controllers, all that kind of stuff. And if you go with the Corsair stuff, the IQ, it's a really, really expensive way of doing it. Don't get me wrong, it does look absolutely fantastic, and it's the same for Thermaltake as well. They're all trying to compete in this market space where RGB is kind of king at the moment, or at least for a lot of people it is, and it generates sales. It genuinely does. If you look on like Facebook groups or eBay or anything like that, you can guarantee if there's RGB blingy PC with the same spec as a non-blingy PC, the RGB one's going to sell. It's just the way it is at the moment. So, what was the point I was getting to? Oh, yeah, the point I was getting to is it's the way the market is at the moment. You have to have RGB. And the easier you can implement it, or the cheaper you can implement it, the better it is as a user or end user.
Stephen Simmons asks, what is that cooler?
The cooler, sorry, what is the?
Holy Christ, what is that cooler?
What is the cooler?
Yeah.
The cooler is the, I always remember forget the name, it's the Iced Rainbow from Sahara. So it is all designed to work together. That is the kind of the whole point of this really. And there's actually some of the reason why I did the build, because I should have done it before actually, to show what it actually looks like and what it can do. But I never got round to it, so this seemed like a really good opportunity to go ahead and do that.
Noob is back.
Noob is back.
But he wants to leave because he thinks he's going to be the bad omen.
Oh, don't be the bad omen. Right, we can put a graphics card in next. We've done, oh no, front panel connector. Let's stick our front panel connector in, because otherwise, when we go to turn it on, it's not going to turn on. And in fact, actually, I don't know if I'm going to be able to turn it on anyway, because we're going to have the same issues we had last night, where I've got nothing to plug into. I was looking at monitors today, cheap monitors. I could do with another monitor on the wall here to actually connect up PCs. Although, considering how things have been going, I'm tempted to ditch that PC there, put a monitor and keyboard and mouse there, and just use it for builds. I don't know. I always change my mind. Right, so front panel connectors, what have we got here? Hard drive LED, reset switch. They're all a bit different on these.
The only RGB in their latter system is the Trident Z Neo RAM.
Hard drive LED, power switch. So, and normally in these motherboards we get the little ASUS thing so you can pre-wire it all. I haven't got one today. So I think that's...
Jay asked, do you know if the cooler is the right way around to flow with the rest?
No, I don't, which is a problem, or at least a potential problem. Well, I think that's in the right place. We'll find out in due course. Okay, graphics card then. Now these rails are a bit better than last night's one. That was
When to find our channel, go to the 140 RGB fan review. Brand something or other up.
here. Okay, so let's spin it around so you guys can see. So usual deal with the cooler, the graphics card even. It's not a cooler. That's a cooler. This is a graphics card.
Yeah, that's it.
So that slots in here. Line that up nicely and snapped into place. Lovely jubbly. And we'll stick a couple of screws in there to hold it in place. Years ago there was a weird kind of system which started to come out where graphics cards were kind of just like sandwiched into place using just this back plate. So you literally just held it in place like that, and it was the clamping force on the side which held it in. Held it in. It wasn't great. Didn't last long. And I suppose as graphics cards got heavier and heavier, the screws actually made their way back in. So I'll stick a couple of screws on there. Really I should have taken this shield out to make life a bit easier, but whatever. Thumb screws always need a bit of extra tightening. Let's put some power into the GPU.
I don't remember watching anything else from this channel. YouTube just shuffled me in here on autoplay. And I approve. I'm going to have to watch some backlog later.
Thank you very much. That's very kind to watch our back catalogue. What was the username of that one? Sorry, Cav?
AETHARAN.
I can't even contemplate what that is in my head at the moment. But thank you anyway. Thanks for dropping by and thanks for staying. You can tell it's a quiet time in tech news when we get a ton of views. Or it's either that or the clocks have changed. Because we did a lot of videos on how to change the clocks on Fitbit devices. And those videos, whenever there's a time change anywhere in the world, those videos go mental.
And like, when there's a present buying occurrence,
Yeah.
they get the reset charge, the Fitbits and the smartwatches.
Yeah, it used to be Valentine's was always a good one for the Fitbits because guys would go out and buy their girlfriend's Fitbits to say like, hey, you're fat, get your ass off the sofa and start doing some exercise, for God's sake, woman. Look at the state of you. That's possibly what they said. I bought it for your birthday, not Valentine's.
You bought me a microphone for Valentine's, didn't you?
Yeah, it's true. So, that is most of our interior done. So, what do you reckon? That's not too bad. Relatively neat. Now, unfortunately, the neatness there,
Need your tweezers out.
going to need some serious tweezer power right now. So, let's get our Pirate Sync controller out. Rawr. I'm a pirate. I sync my lights, I do. I think the cough medicine's kicked in again. So this is the Pirate Sync controller. SATA connection one end, other things this end.
Intel AMD.
What have I put on here?
Go on, Mabes.
What on earth have I put on there? I've put sellotape on there for some reason. It's peeled off the other sticky.
Is it an Intel or AMD?
What's that? The computer? It's AMD. Okay, so there's virtually no sticky left on that whatsoever. Oh dear. Something's going to go right one day. I know it, I can feel it, it's going to happen. Probably not today. So front panel connector, this is our RGB LED.
Jeff Matthews
So
found
that-
your channel when looking for the still Steel Legend M80X review.
Oh, the Steel Legend, that is a great motherboard. I actually was tempted to buy another one of those, but I was thinking, well, I better not buy another one because, well, I've already reviewed one. And it's a bit lame to buy something I've already reviewed. Even on my own recommendations, that's still quite lame. But I would definitely buy another one. I like the Steel Legend boards. I think the MSI boards actually offer, sorry, MSI, the ASRock boards offer fantastic value for money. They're not the best at times for overclocking and stuff like that, but I think they do offer a lot for the money. Right, let's tidy up this little bit. So, what we're going to work with now. So those can push in there, so we're all good there. We've got a little bit of a issue with the SATA. So that is going to go under there. If this powers up and actually syncs first time, I'm going to be quite surprised. But thankful. Very, very thankful. It's lucky actually on the back of it there is quite a lot of room as well for messing around with cables. And what's that? That is another one for the RGB. So I'll take that out of that side. Actually, that looks different from the other ones. Oh yeah, that's the CPU one, or CPU fan one. So we're kind of getting somewhere with it now. So this cable here is not in use. So we can probably pull that around that side just to keep that out of the way. And actually, let's pull that one out of the way again. Stick that in there. So that can go around that side. It's not a problem. And actually the SATA cable there will hold that in place, in theory. Yeah, that'll work. The SATA cable, what I'll do is I'll tuck that under there rather than looping it around. So, tuck that under there. And I think with cable management, there isn't really a right or a wrong. It's basically just what looks okay, or is it acceptable to your eyes. You can do all sorts of tricks and things to make it look nicer.
Do you want another drink?
But ultimately, it just depends how you like it to look. Yes, please, yeah. Thank you. That works well. Right, so SATA cable connection to there. I forgot actually this had quite a length on it, so I don't actually need as much cable coming out as that. So we can tuck that in there as well. So ideally we want this towards the top end somewhere to make it a little bit easier to route the cables to. Being that most of the cable junctioning is going to be in this top corner. And that way it gives us a little bit more room for other cables further down. So yeah. I think that's going to be okay there. And you can actually connect up to 10 different devices to the Sahara controller. So we've got, what, 7 devices at the moment? Which in itself is pretty incredible. And you don't have to put them anywhere in particular, you can route them wherever you want. Some controllers actually do stipulate that you have to have a device connected in pin number 1 or the top left corner, but I haven't found that to be the case on these controllers so far. I've used these Sahara controllers actually quite a few times now, and they're cheap, cheerful, and they do the job. The only thing that I do count against them is the fact that it is kind of proprietary, which is a shame, because it would have been nice for them to have not used a dedicated 6-pin connector. It would have been nice for them to split it and have like your normal 3-pin 12 volt. But it is what it is. Which one's that? That's the top one. So I'll try and leave a couple of gaps just in case we want to add some additional RGB. although I don't think that is going to be entirely necessary. So, you get the general idea. It's a bit of a mess at the moment, and the stream is still going. Hallelujah. I think it was that I looked at the wrong camera. It's not that camera because that was not even turned on. I think it is actually going to be that USB cable or the Logitech camera. I can't imagine it being the Logitech camera. If it's that USB cable, that is going to be upsetting. Although saying that, the hard drive was knackered, which is a technical term, obviously. So what we also need to connect up now, which I actually was beginning to overlook altogether. Now this is the additional connector that goes to the motherboard. So this goes to your fan header and your addressable RGB if you've got addressable RGB, so you can use it as a pass-through. So we'll plug that into the top. And unfortunately, a lot of people do ask, is there a way of converting traditional 12 volt 4-pin RGB to 3-pin 5 volt RGB? And the answer is yes and no. There is an adapter on the market which will do it, but it doesn't do it particularly well. Now the reason for that is because normal 12 volt RGB isn't addressable. So you can get a 5 volt adapter or 12 volt adapter to show all the same colours on the strips at the same time, which is kind of okay, but it's not giving you that addressability, which is what the whole reason really for those setups are. So yes and no is the kind of the bad answer. I personally wouldn't try and do it. I don't think anything good is going to come of it. Where's my fan header?
Alexa's not a fan of ASRock BIOS.
The ASRock BIOS is a little bit clunky. I would say that, definitely.
The big 24-pin motherboard cable always looks like a snake for hand footage.
Right, before I put the back on and cable tie this up together, I think it's probably going to be beneficial to plug it in and fire it up and see if it actually is all connected where it should be. So let's grab a power connector and see what happens. Fingers crossed. Have I connected everything up that should be connected up? Oh, well, we'll find out. Okay, let's get a bit of an angle on the PC so you can see what's going on. And fingers crossed. Look at that. That is a lot of RGB right there. Oh, I should have put it on fan auto, shouldn't I? Well, actually, which one's going crazy? Most of them. Mode. How do we get that to turn off? I forget how to use this thing. So that's fan auto. That's fan low. That is definitely not fan low, that is for sure. Are they all going in the same direction? Yes. It's worked out. The cooler is actually on the right way round. That, I got to be honest with you, was a complete fluke. Yeah. Oh, I think I connected the wrong fan header at the bottom. That's better. Let's have some silence. Okay, so let's have a look at the so motherboard sync. If you press motherboard sync on here, it reverts control back to the motherboard. Now this hasn't got 12 volt address, three pin 5 volt addressable RGB, so it just goes into the off position. And actually, I just noticed the CPU cooler. How cool is that? That's running really nicely. Anyway, so unicorn puke, yay! Hey Google, turn the studio lights off.
Sorry, something went wrong and I'm unable to control your hand device.
Don't be sorry.
Do you want them a big light off?
Yeah, go on in. Let's have all the lights off just to get a look at this. Look at that. That is some serious, serious unicorn puke there. I can't see now. Comparatively with the PC which is behind, which is RGB in a way here. Oh, that's my... No, sorry, the other side, isn't it? It's me, I'm in the way. What do you reckon? That is some serious fanage on the front there, isn't it? I am moderately impressed. Now we've got different RGB cycles, as is the norm with these type of controllers. You've got all the colour flows. And that looks actually really good.
Camera never gives them justice, does it?
Yeah, the camera never quite tells the full story on these, unfortunately. That's very reminiscent of the GameMax Kamikaze, which I was a big fan of. This is kind of like its bigger brother, even though it's a completely different brand, but the look and the kind of the airflow and the characteristics actually, I always said at the time actually, if the Kamikaze was available in a full-size ATX, it would be probably the perfect case. And this actually doesn't appear to be a million miles off that. Let's take this front panel off so you can see how much it's actually dampening the light. So that is a slightly better representation of what it looks like. That's with the front off altogether. It's quite bright. It's not overly bright, but it is actually quite bright. And if we lean it back a little bit, you can see the fans in the top. Shame we can't see all of them at the same time.
Says he wished it was easier to just say fade from blue through green towards red as the CPU temps rises.
Some motherboards will do that. Someone's just commented about the colours changing from the CPU temperatures. I know ASUS boards definitely do that, so you can actually set it so that it'll go green at a certain temperature, amber at a certain temperature, and then red when things are sort of brown trouser time. But that's yeah, no, that's pretty good.
Joe Matthews not keen on the pirate fans, but got to say they look good on this build.
Yeah, I must admit I'm not particularly keen on the pirate fans. If I was going to choose fans, I probably wouldn't go out deliberately and buying pirate ones. I'd probably go with the up here ones. But being that this is all kind of designed to work together, especially with that CPU cooler as well, the CPU cooler just seals the deal for me. That just makes it look like it is all part of one kind of integrated build, which I like a lot.
Kevin Holmes asked why aren't the fans running?
The fans aren't running because I've disconnected them to prevent wind noise, because I haven't set up the BIOS to control the fans properly. And actually they're supposed to run off of this controller, but for some reason they don't appear to be, even though I've just disconnected them. Oh no, there we go. Yeah, so for some reason you only get two fan speeds, one which is incredibly loud and then still quite loud. So I think those would need some setting up in the BIOS with the speed fan to get the actual PWM regulation, because after all that's what it's really designed for regulating through the BIOS. Yeah, that's a lot of candy, a lot of eye candy. Anyway, hey Google, Turn the studio lights on.
Sorry, something went wrong and I'm unable to control audio.
Yeah,
Runs good
thank you.
now.
Athran, thank you for joining us. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hopefully it hasn't been too bad. And sorry for those of you at the beginning who actually missed out on the stream where it all went a bit peaked on. That was not my intention.
Ubuntu says DMX control laser disable next.
Sorry.
Ubuntu says,
Ubuntu.
yeah, DMX control laser disable next.
A DMX controlled laser disco ball. That would be a good idea. I think what this case needs actually, because it's got all this RGB going on at the top, I think it needs a strip at the bottom running along there to actually highlight against that power supply basement, because it is a little bit bland canyon down here, isn't it? But what a spectacular amount of RGB. Oh, that's the wrong way around again.
Matthew did ask earlier, is the filter on that
No. Sorry, camera. So I think I'm going to spend some time a little bit later on doing some cable management on that and sorting out all the little bits and pieces that need sorting out, and then I'm going to have to leave it somewhere to do some soak testing to see what's going on. But saying that, the one behind me now seems to be behaving itself, which, how long have we been streaming for now? For hour and 20, well, hour and a quarter plus whatever, with 0 dropped frames. That's quite impressive. Normally you drop point something of a percent of frames. We're only streaming at 30 frames per second rather than the usual 50 is what I tend to do. So that's not too bad. I'm actually looking at the PC because I can see a better angle of it now than what I can see when it's actually in front of me. That does look, the dogs, it really does. I'm very impressed with that. If I can get those fans regulated down to a suitable level so it's not sounding like some kind of hurricane going on in there, that could be my next go-to PC for up here. I love playing with the lights.
Jeff Matthews says, job well done. Great looking build.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And Major says that rainbow is beautiful.
It's good, isn't it? I like it. It's that's the one thing is one of the one of the nicer features of Sahara gaming. Their cases are decent. Some of the cheaper ones, okay, yeah, maybe not great, but they are learning their lessons there. But this case, as it stands, normally you can pick up this case without the RGB fans for about £60, which actually for the case and all the features and all the, like, you could put in there a 420mm radiator plus these fans if you wanted to. You could put another 280 on the top and a 140 on the back if you wanted to, or like a smaller AIO. Maybe you've got like a R9 Fury graphics card which has got a water cooling radiator. Stick that on the back. This gives you a lot of options and quite a lot of room to work with as well. Even though I've made a pig's ear of this back section with the cable management, there's still tons of room where I could stuff cables. And in fact, even as it is now with it in such a mess, I could just grab that back panel, shove it on and forget about it. I wouldn't do that because I'd like to cable manage it a little bit first, but if you want a nice, simple, easy case to build in, like during this build, other than the stream crapping out on me, have I experienced any problems? I didn't even think to kind of mention any. Can you think of any that I've had? Any issues? Did I ever say, I wish this was here or wish that was there? I don't think I've said anything, have I, like that? Can you remember anything, Kath? Can you remember anything, chat? I can't remember saying, I wish there was
Not a bad case,
something here.
but it's not Lee.
That's from Lietta Oletta. Oletta Lan Lee is not a Lian Lee case, no, it isn't. And it isn't in the same league as them, to be completely honest with you.
It's quite a compliment from a letter.
But yeah, there is a compliment from a letter, and this actually,
Although it's not enough bling in it either.
I was,
And the fans are louder than all our 10.
Yeah, the fans definitely need some work to set those up. That is definitely going to be a work in progress. I wonder if I disconnect that.
Bang!
No, that did nothing. I think it's because I haven't connected that bit. Anyway, you get the idea. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen, and those that are unsure. Hopefully you've enjoyed the build. Hopefully you've enjoyed the case, and maybe it's given you an idea for a build of your own. Hopefully the stream is going to remain stable, and we'll try and do another stream, possibly not tomorrow night because it's our wedding anniversary, so we're going out for some food, right, Kath?
Yes, we do it in the day.
Yeah, we might do a stream during the day, or go out for food in the day and then do the stream on the night time. Just so that we can be with you guys, because we love you guys, we really do. Possibly more than we love each other, which is saying something. Because we're like that. It's like, there's me, that's Kath. Anyway, I'm digressing. So, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To. You have to watch it in the rewind. I've been Mike, this is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To. Hopefully you've enjoyed the live build with us tonight. For those of you that have joined us, thank you all so much. I will be in the Discord chat after the stream, so if you want to have a quick chat there, while I'm de-rigging all this, I'll leave the microphone on, so if you want to have a chat, you're more than welcome to. But if not, we'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.